What is up, everyone? Welcome. It is the KBMOD Build Guide Live, and I'm joined with Bob and Hex per usual, and we also have hey, look at that! I didn't update the thing, so apparently you're EVGA Jacob.
Hey, everybody!
Yay.
Free EVGA video cards for all of you.
Yes. How did that not update?
How did that not update? I've watched you change it.
I know. Oh, come on. Whatever.
Awesome.
Anyways, welcome everyone. I'll fix this. To to the build guide. This is something that KBMOD's been doing for how long have we been doing the build guides on the website now? It's been a couple years now, and decided to try to do this as more of a live thing to show you guys them. So we do a build guide every month, have multiple builds in it, and yeah, and we just try to have fun with it. So Bob, if you want to introduce your friend Steve here that you were able to acquire last minute.
As a friend, as well as on the show.
Yeah, so this is Steve, formerly of Newegg TV, now of Monoprice, and also of Many Talents. Steve streams on his personal channel, Twitch TV Burial Grounds. Is there an underscore somewhere there?
Nope.
No, okay.
Just my Twitter.
And then at Steve_OMG on Twitter.
Hey, it's fixed.
There we go, look.
Yay!
Yay!
So Steve does not work for EVGA. That was Jacob last month. But,
So Jacob would crack up to see that, though. When he watches this later, he's going to laugh. Yeah, but thank you guys for having me on the show, by the way. I'm really excited. And to be completely honest, I have no idea what's in store for me. So I know we're going to talk about builds. I know we're going to kind of go over that. And but anyways, either way, I'm excited to be here. So thank you.
Well, going in blind is the best thing. And honestly, you probably are one of the most passionate people about technology that I know. So it's kind of a natural fit. So we're glad to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know us, who aren't familiar with us, we're a PC gaming community that's, you know, we just kind of hang out, play some games, do some cool stuff with charities, and then some of us have some technical expertise that we like to share with you. We're more of the expert influencer in the category rather than like an tech or something. I'm not going to overwhelm you with numbers or stats or charts. Although our boy Ches loves charts. Everybody loves Ches.
He does. And if Bob gets too techy, that's what I'm here for, to help you like, what?
And this is basically where Bob and I just argue about one decision over the next.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is a how are you going to spend the money, right? So we have 4 builds that we do. At set price points, we're not allowed to go over that money. And let me tell you, it's absolutely excruciating when you're like $1 over on your build and you've got to dial it back significantly to get under the limit. So we have a $500 build, an $800 build, a $1,300 build, and an $1,800 build. Now, none of them include your OS, peripherals, or monitors.
We assume you're stealing all of those things.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And by the way, you were saying earlier that you have to just really dial it back in order to get yourself right underneath the barrier there. When I came on, you're like, all right, dude, build a $2,800 system. And I'm like, okay, I've never had a budget like that ever in my life to build a system. I typically buy like the platform and that's it pretty much. You know, like the motherboard, the CPU, typically would have a cooler laying around and memory if I needed to change memory types. But that's like where I start, and I just build the whole thing out of an upgrade system from there. But I don't know if I'm like everyone else. Do you guys all do that too?
No, so a lot of us do roll things into the next build. We actually started doing this out of the hope of getting more people into PC gaming.
Oh, okay.
We started out doing this, showing you what you can get for $500, $800, and people were just amazed. I mean, if you take into account what you can buy for $500 and $800, and then, you know, picking up games on Steam sales, you very quickly save a crap load of money compared to console. So that's kind of how we started doing this. I think I just checked. The oldest build guide I can find is May of 2011, but then it looks like we picked those back up in March of 2012. So we've been doing them for a while. They're kind of fun to do, also very excruciating and painful. And you'll see why in the $500 build in a couple of minutes.
And another thing, too, that we try to do is, like you were saying, Steve, is you start with the platform and kind of add stuff as you go, which is the benefit of PC gaming, obviously, or just PCs in general. It's not you buy a set unit and you can't upgrade it. But we tried to make it so at least you have a path of moving up. So you start off with this CPU, and then maybe you can upgrade to another one later on because it's the same chipset, that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's why you guys went C97 with the starter.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Spoiler alert.
God damn it. Sorry.
Well,
but you don't know which manufacturer.
No, you know what? Let's go ahead and go into that one.
Sorry.
So,
worst segue ever.
No, actually, it worked fine.
Okay.
It worked fine, and actually, so one of the problems with this build. Okay, so this build is an i3-4160. It's a good processor. I actually have it. I bought one just to play around with. We have featured this board in the past before. This ASRock Fatality Z97 Killer ATX. It is crossfire capable. It is not SLI capable, and that's something that you do need to pay attention to. But it's on a good deal right now. What's that?
Is that because it's restricted on lanes or something?
Yeah. Yep. So SLI, you need matching lanes where crossfire you do not. So it's on a pretty good deal right now at $88.24 with a promo code and a mail-in rebate. Then there's the tried and true Corsair Vengeance, 8 gigs of that, around $50. That Seagate Barracuda that I keep throwing in the build because it's inexpensive and pretty good storage. There is a Radeon R9 280 at Newegg for $150 right now. That's a pretty good deal in my opinion. Basically, in that price category at least, that's a really good deal. I've got a couple of 7970s and they still hold their own, and that's basically what that card is. This Thermaltake case for $25. You really can't go wrong for $25 unless you're going to put your machine in a cardboard box, which
that'd be a mistake.
I've done
that. So
I've done. I mean, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it. And then a Corsair Builder Series 500 watt. It's 80 plus bronze. I would still stick to 80 plus bronze where you can. I wouldn't go any further than that. But total there, $498.14.
Not bad.
It's pretty good for a console killer at $500 in my humble opinion. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean,
yeah.
Or go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead,
No.
Steve.
Your show. You go. Yeah. I will go last because I just talk. That's what I'm used to doing. No, please.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, and the benefit of this, like we were going on about earlier, is so you have all this stuff. You have your CPU, motherboard, memory. That memory. I mean, now is kind of a weird transition time because DDR4 is obviously out, and we're going to be jumping to that. But that's usually something that you can take with you with a few builds. But I mean, the storage, you can always add an SSD onto this later on. You can always upgrade the video card. Right. And the nice thing about if you're going for like the cheaper route here, the case is only $25. If you want to go and save up for like a really nice case later on, and then transplant everything over there, maybe when you get a few more parts too. I mean, $25 isn't much to set you back, so why not do that if like you want to save up now because you want the PC now instead of waiting for the $800 or $1,300 build. This is a good kind of starter platform. So.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about with that, because essentially, just like we were all talking about at the very beginning, most of us just roll in our old components into a new system and transplant all the basics, right? So you really want to like have, this would be a great system. I guess your next upgrade here would probably be, what would you guys go with, another video card or maybe the CPU? Because I feel like either one, you got to do both in order to get a little more out of it, right?
It really depends on what you're doing. If you're planning,
that's true.
If you're planning on streaming, yes, you're going to have to go for that CPU upgrade pretty quickly.
Yep,
sure.
Everyday gaming, you know, if you're gaming and you're not streaming and you're finding that you're dipping below 60 frames a second, or say you got a 120 hertz monitor, add another R9 280.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Of course, at that point, you might have to look at a power supply upgrade too.
And you
because it's
sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the R9 280, I think
how much
the
power
limit
does
on
that use?
at 200 watts, so
Okay.
probably would upgrade there.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of it's going to run off of 100.
And then what after that? You'd go to like a 4690K or something to be able to get you everything you need for streaming.
I mean,
I would probably go 4690K over a Crossfire GPU if you were going.
If you're going to stream.
Yeah,
Yep.
especially if
I
you're
agree with you.
Yeah.
Those extra threads, that's going to make a huge difference. That the extra speed, the i5 is a better processor.
And QuickSync too, big one. Like how many times I've tried to tell somebody you do not need an i7 processor if you want to stream. All you need to do is get an i5 with QuickSync, and you should be golden. 1080p streaming, you're set, right?
I feel like that depends on if you're going to use XSplit over OBS. OBS with sync still has some hangups, especially around if you're going to do game capture versus having a dedicated stream PC. You can get mouse ghosting, weird mouse trails. There are some issues still using quick sync with OBS, but the i5 is still going to help you overall when you're.
Well, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to use quick sync with the i3. Actually, it's got Intel HD 4400.
Yeah.
And you got 4 logical threads because it's dual core hyper-thread. So really going from that to a 4690K, you're actually just looking at a chip that you can overclock. So,
which matters still.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is like 3 megahertz when you can just punch in 40 or 42 and let it rip. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough call, honestly. A quick and easy upgrade in order to stream might be something like a live gamer, but.
Sure. Well, again, only if you're going to use XSplit, because XSplit will only software that's actually going to use the encoder on that card. If you're using OBS, you're probably better off to go to an i5 at that point.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, but for $500 though, it's
the bones. Like it's a bones of a good machine that you can play games on today.
Yeah.
And then if you need to upgrade for a specific purpose, you definitely have that path. So if you want to add some fast storage to it, quick and easy. If you want to add more RAM, if you want to add another R9, or if you want to upgrade the CPU, you've got a path. We didn't hamstring you with like an H87 board or some garbage like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Cool.
So that's the starter. Did you want
and so that rolls right into the 800 build if you want to do that one.
Yeah. Yep. So here we go. The sweet spot is what we call $800. Now, originally when we started the build guides, this is what we started. We didn't even have the $500 slot, and the fact that you can get so much PC for $500 still is pretty amazing, even though we've been doing it for a while. But this is the tried and true sweet spot. Starts off Intel Core i5 4690K. 3.5 gigahertz quad core processor, $230. We're using the same motherboard, correct?
Yep.
And looks like same memory, so nothing really different there. Same hard drive, although like Bob said, those Barracuda drives are pretty solid. And then we have what is possibly the best bang for a buck I've seen since the 660 Ti, the GTX 970. It's just a hell of a card. $320. If you can afford to save up and can afford one of these bad boys, it really is a lot of GPU for the money. We're spending a little bit more for a different case, but not much. I think we're only spending like $8 more for the Antec 1 ATX mid-tower case. I personally haven't used that, so I don't know anything really about that. One of you guys can chip in here, but I think we're also using the same power supply as well, coming in at $798.18. So we're getting a little bit better case, but really it's the GPU here that we're spending the extra money on, and the CPU. Other than that, they're kind of the same. But this thing, you're spending $300 more, you're going to get a lot more performance out of it. The 970 is just absolutely killer.
Yep. Nice.
So.
Yeah, pretty happy with this one overall. There is a slightly cheaper GTX 970 right now. It's actually the Gigabyte like ITX variant, but from some of the reviews that I had seen of it, it will kind of throttle itself at certain thermal limits. So I spent the $20 on the EVGA.
Yeah.
So.
And the last few GPUs I've had were all EVGA. I've built a few machines at my work, and they've all been EVGA, and they've been all really solid. So, I mean, I like them. I can vouch for them personally. So,
cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like with the sweet spot, this is the build you're going to go with. If you're thinking, I want a game, and also I maybe want to dip my toe into the streaming realm, this is where you start at.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, since it's really not that much different, I mean, there's not really a lot more to talk about, but $800 is a pretty good, I mean, this is a pretty solid starter PC. It's better than the one that because I was into PC gaming back when Counter-Strike 1.4 came out. I played it at my buddy's house. Well,
there's some questions in chat about the lack of an SSD in an $800 PC.
Oh.
And if you're looking at that part list, you're going to have a difficult time scaling anything back, at least in my opinion. I mean, maybe you guys can find somewhere that you can scale back in order to come up with that. $30, $40, $50 for a cheap crap SSD. That's
which I would not recommend doing. That's the whole point of the sweet spot. It's to get you the good foundations that you can build on that. You want an SSD, no problem. Get the $800 one, and then in a month, spend $100 on another SSD. Right. You know, if you even want to do that. I mean, you're going to play this, and you're going to be like, oh, great, I have to reinstall my operating system on an SSD. But whatever, it's not that big a deal. It's not difficult. And ultimately, like if you had played on this system, the massive difference between this and an SSD-based system is just load times. And honestly, like, I don't know, man. I'm not mad at this system at all. For $800, I'd much rather either have dumped it into the 970 like you guys did, or into the 4690K. Honestly, the chassis doesn't mean much to me, especially at like $7 difference or whatever that is, right?
Yeah,
it was 25.
$7 more.
Right. Yeah, and it's the biggest pain in the ass to do your chassis. So if you're ever going to do the upgrade way we were talking about before, definitely buy a new chassis and then the internal, like the motherboard, CPU, memory, if that's the way you want to go with it, because it's just a bitch to rip everything out later. But ultimately, dude, it's not that big of a... I mean, I don't know. I don't care that much for the SSD. I can't say... Every system in my household, I have like 6 all around right now. They all have SSDs, as well as like anywhere between 2 to 4 terabyte Western Digital drives, because I have a ton of games. I mean, heck, how many games are you up to now? I just broke 500, by the way.
Let me check. Hold on. I'll pull.
I get a little pat on the back. I broke 500.
I'm at 707 right now.
Jesus Christ! I've been telling people you're at 650 forever.
Wait, Shannon from Thermaltake that asked.
He's at 2,800, so let's not talk.
What?
2,800 games.
That is like that's like going to bundle, whatever it's called, Humble Bundle, and just buying the shit over and over again, like to get to 2,800. I'm going to talk to Shannon about that.
So I don't want to discount the importance of an SSD at all. The point is that we have always coveted frames per second more than storage, and historically, going back to when Brandon and Dan took over the build guides, it's always been about the in-game performance, not necessarily load times for anything. Personally, I can't use a machine without an SSD anymore. I can't. I want to throw it out the window. I can't. I don't have patience for it.
I don't think anyone here would be able to use a machine without an SSD. We just like, no, I'm setting it on fire. So, it's either make it or break it.
and it was suggested in chat to take the $50 from that 1 terabyte drive and spend it on an SSD. Well, you're going to get like maybe 120 gig SSD. So by the time you install Windows and have your page file and your hibernation and all those things, you're not going to have enough room for GTA 5, Battlefield 4, Witcher 3, any of that crap. You can basically
have like 30 gigs, but over time it's going to fill up with all the Windows updates and everything.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're not going to install a current AAA title game. You're going to be relegated to like free-to-play, MOBA type games. Good luck with that, and good job spending $800 on a machine that you can't install anything on.
You could turn it into a Chromebook.
Right.
It's actually this is a really good transition to the $1,300 build, because Bob and I had a couple different opinions on how the $1,300 build should go. I personally love solid state drives, but I agree with Steve. The difference you're going to see is how fast your computer boots and how fast your load times are on your games. So if what's important to you is I want the most FPS possible, skip the SSD, go with a nice sized magnetic hard drive, and go with a better GPU. But in the $1,300 build, let's talk about that for a minute. Nikon, you want to throw that one up there?
Yep.
Wait, I want to see the picture of the Z97 board on the way.
Hold on. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, we have pictures.
Fatality. All right.
So with the $1,300 build, we're going to go with an Intel Core i7 4790K. We've got a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, which is the same cooler I'm using right now in my system. We've got a Gigabyte GA Z97X Gaming 5. We've got 16 gigs of G-Skill Ripjaw Series 1600 DDR3 RAM. We've got now here's where our SSD comes in. The Samsung 850 EVO 120 gigabyte edition, and that's an M2, not a standard solid-state drive, which that board will support, so you can not tie up a solid standard SATA port. We've also got another terabyte of storage space from the Seagate Barracuda, and we've gone to the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 980 4 gig edition. That's the WindForced version of that video card. We're using an NZXT S340 ATX mid-tower case and an EVGA Supernova 650-watt gold-certified fully modular power supply. So here's where Bob and I differed, and where even coming to back to that $800 build comes in. With my $1,300 build, I went to the 970 with double the storage space on both the magnetic and solid-state drives. And the reason that I thought of it was I use a 970. I've never had a problem at 1080p gaming with that specific card. That gives you a little more space to use for game installs on your solid state drive, and you have double the storage space for other games that maybe you wouldn't need a solid state drive for. Maybe you play a lot of indie games, maybe you use a lot of emulators, maybe you do that kind of thing.
Says the guy with 750 games. He picked a bigger storage. So I totally get it, man. John, I'm the same way. That's exactly why I was like, wow, I'll never fill up a 2 terabyte. Now I want 4 terabyte drives, because if I just start downloading the new games I just bought and never uninstall the old ones, that shit fills up really quickly.
Yep.
So actually, for my build, I have 428 gig solid state drives in RAID 4 or RAID 0.
Have you ever had an array break down for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah, at Bob's house when the power went out. I had
how many times has it happened just total?
Twice.
Twice. And
Twice
how much time? Twice ever. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
and you've been
twice
doing it
ever in the time I've used RAID 0. And if you're really worried about data redundancy, you don't want to use RAID 0. You would want to use RAID 1 or preferably RAID 5 at that point. But that's a completely different hardware podcast. That we could do a whole podcast about just RAID arrays.
The only reason I bring it up. The only reason I bring it up at all is because back when I was running RAID on the internal controllers, I was always having to rebuild the array, and it just got to the point where I was just tired of it. And I would image, like I would image my array to back it up so I could come back to it eventually.
Sure.
But still, I mean, it's fine. And a couple guys I talked to at WD, they had a great term for it. They called RAID 0 running with scissors. So
pretty much, yeah. That's a really good way to describe it. And so that last LAN that I lost, I think it was 2 years ago now, Bob, that we lost power in Bob's basement for about an hour. And that blew the BIOS on my board, and I have a dual BIOS that it recovered from backup, which is fine. But the nice thing about RAID is that the RAID partition is actually stored on the drive itself, not on the controller. So when I rebuilt, I did lose my OS array, but once I got back into the OS, it came up and said, oh, I can see an array of your magnetic disks. Let's just pull all that data back. So my storage drive, I didn't lose any data at all. And that was a really nice little help for that really hectic time of rebuilding a system during a LAN party.
Downloading 800 games would be a bitch. Yeah.
There's obviously, there's a lot of factors when you're building a PC. Are you living out in the boonies with really bad internet? Then you're probably going to want to have a bigger hard drive. If you have like fiber and you can download games in 2 seconds, maybe you can get away with a smaller storage device.
I have 300 down and I still don't give a shit. I want it all here right now.
My installs are really clean.
I honestly I do want to start using a NAS here at my house to just upload to, because I build systems so often and I have to download all my I have like 3 different Steam profiles, so it's easier for me to just have all of the data files already here, all the cache files here, and just transfer them at super fast speeds, and then just log in once, and everything would be fine.
Sure.
I don't know, just thoughts coming into my head right now while we're talking about storage.
And with the enthusiast, that's kind of the decision you have to make: is do I want faster loading times or do I want more FPS? Because the 970 is still a beast of a card. It's going to play. I mean, I'm playing The Witcher 3 on that. I'm playing GTA 5 on that. I'm playing all of the newest games on that card without any frame problems. And yes, the 980 is a nice little bump over that. But for me personally, for those bigger games, I would rather have a little more SSD space that I could put. And the sad thing is, you can only put one of them on your SSD. Like, I can play GTA 5 through and then uninstall it, and now it's Witcher 3 time because they're enormous games. But the load time makes a huge difference at that point, especially if you're going to play something like Arkham Knight right now, where the developers have said, hey, put it on an SSD because we made a really bad port of the PC version.
Hey, by the way, fix our problem with your hardware. So I'm curious, John, have you done any, because you're suggesting to do that, what size SSD are you currently running?
I have 4 Crucial M4 128s in RAID 0, and that's 500 gigs.
Okay, and then you pretty much just, with your staple of games, you won't remove those, but there's like one that you rotate in and out of the SSD? Is that what I'm hearing?
So even with 500 gigs of space, let me look at my drives right now, actually.
No worries.
This PC. So I've got about 370 gigs available, but I do have GTA 5 and I have Witcher 3 both on my solid state array right now. For smaller games, things in my Steam libraries, like I have Doom 2 installed, I have Skyrim installed, I have Far Cry 4 installed. Those all live in a secondary directory on my magnetic array. And that's 2 terabyte drives in a RAID 0 for 4 terabytes of space, and that's only using about, I have 3.18 terabytes free there. At that point, if you really wanted a little nudge of performance, grab a couple 1-tera drives and RAID 0 them. The boards that we recommend would allow you to do that.
Maybe I heard you wrong, John. I think you said RAID 0 for 2 terabytes. Did you mean 2 terabytes would have been? Yeah, that would have been 4. You're right. For some reason, I thought you said mirroring for some reason. But yeah.
No, I'm doing striping across all of my drives right now.
Cool.
So the big games, the ones that I'm really the most invested in, are things I want to do reviews on, or things that I want to do videos on, especially, or things that I'm going to do recording on. Those live on a solid state array, but only because it was cheaper for me when the Crucial M4s went on crazy sale to buy $60 more of 128 gig drives than it was to buy like a 480 gig drive Intel PCIe drive.
So one last thing about storage, and we can get the hell off this topic. I just wanted to say one more thing, and that is if any of you just specifically saw an awesome deal on memory, bought it, and then decided to run a massive RAM drive?
I've never done that, actually.
I want to try it, but I've never been able to do it.
Yeah, I have the board for it now. I have an X99 board, but now I
have an X99 board, man.
That's that one's right here.
Nice.
Your
tap
behind you.
Yeah, they were pointing at the wall of hardware. I'm trying the Paul and Kyle look behind me this time.
You look more like the back lobby of like a micro center.
All right. Well,
it's too packed in, like too.
Guess
perfect.
I'm getting the too perfect. Okay, guess I'm getting the green screen up next time.
I mean, it'd be fine if it was like kind of on display a little bit. I just feel like I don't have room for any of this.
I don't have room for
Sorry, okay.
Anyway, so back to the enthusiast build. A few key things that are different in this one. So we're spending a lot more because we have $500 more from the $800 one. So we splurged. We got our solid state drive, which we talked about a bunch there. So that should make Chad happy. Have the same RAM. The motherboard, I think we're spending a little bit more on, but not much actually. But we finally have an i7. We kicked it up to there, so this is a good machine for streaming. Have a CPU cooler, so you should be able to overclock a little bit more versus the stock fan. And also, if you need to pinch pennies, if you're building something, you can honestly drop the CPU cooler, just run it at clock speeds for a while, and then next paycheck you spend $30.
You would say that. Of course, you would say that.
I know. Shut up, Bob. I have a water cooler now, so you should be happy. But I mean, that's something you can save $30 on. And then we also, the case we spend more money on, we have a nice case now. But the one thing I truly love so much now that I've gone this way is the fully modular ATX power supply. If you can go fully modular, you are going to love it.
Yeah.
So
it's especially nice when you're like transplanting a build too, because you can leave cables in place.
Yeah, that was when we did the Roswell Stealth review. That was my biggest bummer, is that I did not have a fully modular power supply. It was
that's all right. How do we kick someone from the Skype call?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
I could just leave, guys. No,
we need to rectify that. There's no reason really to.
It's like, nope, I'm done.
It's just like, see you later.
I'm getting water. Sorry.
But I mean, $1,300 is a lot of money to spend on a machine, but I mean, you're getting a hell of a lot of bang for your buck here. And again, anyone who in the chat's like, well, you should have spent your money this way.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, well, that's the beauty of building a PC. You get to do whatever the hell you want to do.
And Bob, what'd you put in your Xbox?
People need to remember
to. Your Xbox?
I know. Yeah. People need to remember that this is the internet, and people have opinions on the internet, and most of them are wrong. I mean, mine is right. Yours are wrong. But that's just the way the internet works.
On that for forever. Yeah. So
when Al Gore and I came up with the internet,
I'm so glad you guys did too.
It's the way that it works.
Yeah. So. Honestly, like I have to admit completely that I am like so out of the loop on budget systems. I don't know how to make budget systems. I know how to make the system I would want to use. I know how to upgrade a system to something else, but I definitely do not just go, all right, you want an $800? Okay, hold on a second. Like that takes a lot of time for me. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Coming in under an exact number is fucking excruciating because you come up with the exact build that you want and you're like, I'm $36 over.
Yeah.
I'm $23 over. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's worse is you wind up with like $1.87 over, and Dan and Brandon are like, nope, fuck you, do it again. So,
Yeah, like I was $25 over. You told me the same thing, and I said, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, it's fine. I will talk you into the other $25."
yeah.
Nope, not on this thing.
Apparently not.
All right, so that's $1,300 for the enthusiast. Who's covering the next guy? Is that Bob? Sure,
Okay.
we're gonna go with Bob. Wait, we didn't show the photo.
Nope.
Hold on. Why is it not switching scenes? I'm a pro. Look at that. Yeah.
It's a pretty board.
We added pictures to this.
It's a pretty board.
All right, let's move on to the professional.
All right, so the professional, we're sticking with X99.
I missed the picture. Can you guys go back?
No.
I don't see. I don't see any reason not to continue the trend with the X99. I think we've 3 months now, maybe a little bit longer than that. So this is a 5820K 6-core processor, meaning 12 logical threads. Got a Corsair H100i, all-in-one closed-loop liquid cooler. I like them quite a lot myself. I don't know, some people would prefer to stick with Air. We've got a Gigabyte GA X99 UD3. It's a pretty solid board. I think a couple community guys out there are using that particular board. I've got the UD4, which has a couple extra features, which I have no idea off the top of my head what they are. It's a G.Skill Ripjaw 4 Series 16 gig kit. I think that's the exact kit that I have. Again, I stuck with an 850 EVO M.2 solid state drive.
Nice.
And a 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda. The GTX 980 Ti 6 gig from Gigabyte.
I want it so bad.
Me too. The NZXT H440 white. Why mess with a good thing?
Racist.
That's
Yeah, dude, that's great.
Hey, it's white/black. It's multiracial.
All right.
Oh, it's okay.
And then a Corsair RM 650. That's on sale for $75.
All right, so I have an argument with all of these guides, by the way. There's taxes in every one of these states. You all fucked up. Go back to the drawing board.
These taxes. Why don't you pay taxes?
What? There's like 2 things in life, right? Death and taxes? Yeah, you're
death
paying
and new computers. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
Internet taxes.
Yeah.
As long as they order from out of state, it doesn't matter.
Depends on the place you buy it from. Don't forget.
Next
Depends
month, just for you, Steve, we will do 50 builds for each one. Just for you. By the way, we will not do the build guide again for another 16 months.
Now stop
it'll
doing the
take that
build
long.
guide. Thanks to Steve.
So
Fucking
anyway,
asshole.
that one, we came under with 19 cents to spare. So,
So this is the first build with a water cooler too. So
in this particular month, this is the only the water cooler. So
cool.
I want
budgets were tight.
Build me this computer, please. Can we just give this computer to me?
I know. Well, so prices overall were trending up this month. I don't know if you guys were paying attention, but if you go back and look at the build guides from last month, everything's more expensive than it was. So we had to adjust everything. Everything's just trending up. I don't know if it's RAM particularly. There were a couple of CPU deals that expired, a couple of motherboard deals that expired, GPUs as well. So I think we're kind of in a weird state right now, right after Computex and everything. People are waiting for Skylake S. So,
yeah, honestly, if you're buying anything for a system, you really should be waiting.
Yeah,
it's just like you have money burning a hole in your pocket, and
right. Right. I mean, if you have to buy right now, this is the stuff that I would buy. But honestly, I would wait probably 2 or 3 months and see where the dust settles. Some of the technology here that you're looking at, like M.2, that's not going anywhere. That is a brand new form factor, and technology that's significantly faster than SATA. So I would go for that. If you see an M.2 drive on sale, go ahead and buy it. DDR4, if you see a deal on DDR4, go ahead and buy it.
Yeah, that's definitely not going anywhere.
We're not going to see new video cards anytime really soon. Let's just be honest about that. I mean, even the ones that were new are kind of rebadges anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we might see price drops, but there's not really going to be any new cards.
Right.
So typically when I'd recommend system purchasing for people who want to piecemeal it like the way we're describing for people right now, usually I tell them the things that don't really change price much, that are not volatile, are power supplies, typically chassis, unless there's a new version coming out. Right now, I would probably say the M.2 drive, like you guys were saying, the hard drive for sure. Then the 980 Ti, just because it just came out, there's a chance that you could go with that now. But I would never want to spend that much money and let it sit. That's just like, oh, that would bother me.
Yep.
The memory, once again, that's probably pretty volatile, so I would hold off probably on that. Motherboard, sticking around. That price isn't going to change much until the next generation comes out, and which is exactly why we would tell you do not buy the motherboard or the CPU right now until the dust settles. Yeah. But, I mean, overall, too, I was going to say that you guys did a great job jumping up from what was it, the $1,300 price point to the $1,800, was it? Yeah, because going to this, you're at a whole new realm. You're at the bottom of it, but you're at a whole new realm of with X99 in terms of your upgrade paths. Now you can go tons of different places. I mean, you have an editing system now. You can start dumping money into fast storage if you want to. The video card is obviously awesome, so you're probably great there for a while. But you got the lanes, so you could go crazy, and then eventually upgrade your CPU if you wanted to get all of the lanes back. But yeah, but once again, I'd just wait for Skylake.
Yeah, I mean, so this price point, historically, we've seen this as kind of like a dual-duty gaming station and workstation, right? So someone who's going to be running virtual machines, somebody who's going to be running, you know, all the Adobe Creative Suite products, that kind of stuff, or maybe you're into architecture or something, and maybe you're using like, I don't know, AutoCAD. You know, that's kind of the group that I'm catering towards with the $1,800 build. Sure, you could buy an i5 and throw a couple of 980s in under $1,800, but overall utility of the machine isn't going to be as great as X99, 5820K, etc. So
what's nice about this too, the jump from the previous build to this, is like this easily is going to do 1440p no problem, and it'll probably do 4K on most games, at least on high. You might be able to run some of them on Ultra depending on what you deem is an acceptable frame rate. Because I have a 980, not the 980 Ti, and I was able to run a few games on my 4K TV on high, and it didn't dip below what I felt was fine, especially if you're on a TV. But this is a hell of a machine, and I want to upgrade even though I have no logical reason to.
So, something I want to add to the conversation that we haven't hit on yet, the fact that the wattage on the PSU, if everybody out there's like, I need a 1,500 watt PSU, unless you're going like quad SLI or quad crossfire or four-way SLI or four-way crossfire, you really you don't need to go that crazy at all. And this is something that Paul kind of drilled into me as soon as I started working at Newegg. It's like, why aren't we getting like 850 watt power supplies? Because I'd always been trained, you know, to get enough that I felt was going to be plenty for at least 2 cards. And he's just like, Steve, everything's a little more efficient now. You're thinking about old technology. You can go with a 650, maybe a 750, and be good to go. But that case in point, you guys are rocking a 650. Of course, Maxwell GPU too, so I guess that's probably helping.
Maxwell definitely helped out. Yeah, but you know, like you're saying, I always recommend stick with 80 plus gold or better if you can. Like if you could afford to be in that tier, do it. It's gonna pay it off. It'll pay itself off over the course of its life.
And another hot tip, if you decided to yourself, oh, I'll go fully modular, I'll buy the 650 watt, and then later I'll buy the 850 watt, right? No, don't do that. Even though it could be the exact same wiring scheme, you should never ever do that because they're not guaranteed to operate that way, and you could fry componentry like that. So even across the same manufacturer, do not do that. Unless the manufacturer tells you it's okay, then it's okay.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Hot tip.
Yeah, I don't think... I don't know if do you think we'll ever get back to the days where you're going to need 1,000+ watt power supplies for gaming, or do you think we're going to stay on the trend where they're going to go for efficiency over stuff?
I mean, unless you're using multiple GPUs.
As you see die shrinks overall, like CPU and GPU, it's going to get more efficient.
It has to, you mean?
Yeah, it does. Yes. Yeah.
With the limitations on how thin they can go with the wafers, this is the only other option until they can fix that. Because the thermal envelope, right? That's really what they're fighting with efficiency. Yep. So more efficient, less waste to heat, therefore more thermally efficient. And honestly, you also get a lot of overclockability, which is always good. Cool.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and, Steve, you want to dive into your $2,800 build that I put you through the ringer?
No, this is your show.
Yeah.
You have to do everything.
No. So how about you do that one, and while you're doing that, let's get chat to queue up some questions for us.
I was severely whipped into making this a $2,743 price tag versus $2,825 or $2,825 or whatever it was. So we're jumping into my $2,800 build because I'm the guest, and they figure I don't know shit about computers, so they give me a huge budget. And honestly, like I was just sort of going down the list, just going, yep, we're gonna give it a 5960X. Yep, we're gonna give it 32 gigabytes of memory. And I'm like, fuck, I've only got 3 things, and I'm already at like 2,700. I'm like, all right, so those assholes set me up for a total trap. I basically can't just pick the best of the best on everything. And clearly, this is never a budget I'm working within. I will build a system that maybe costs $3,200, but I do it over time. I would never buy everything all at once. But okay, so we'll start off with the CPU. I went with the i7-5820K after changing it twice. Then I went with the CPU cooler, Corsair H110i GT. And then the Asus Rampage 5 Extreme. I was told many times to put that down to the X99 version, and I said, no, I want that board. Yeah, oh yeah, you wanted the deluxe. Yeah, I was like, no, I want the fucking board. Give me the board. I've had lots of time working with that board, and I really like it. And I would hope that if you're going to spend $2,800 that you get an awesome motherboard, because really a lot of people want to skimp there. And even though it's going to another Asus board, I just wanted all the bells and whistles. I wanted it all. For this particular price point, right? Mm-hmm. And then I went with 16 gigabytes of DDR4 3000 memory from G.Skill, the Ripjaws, of course. Intel 750 series 400 gigabyte PCIe solid-state drive, which is drool-worthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everybody likes that one.
In case you missed that, PCIe solid-state drive, not M2. PCIe.
NVMe is the way to go, man. It's so effing fast, that thing. What was it clocked at again? What are the speeds on that? I've completely forgotten.
Oh, I forgot.
When it originally came out, it was around 1 gig per second, which is what my 4 fucking disk RAID 0 clocks in. So one NVMe drive will just beat the hell out of 4 SATA 3 drives. But just be aware, you need to have a board that supports NVMe booting at that point. Some boards will not support that. So make sure if you're going to buy this and in any way deviate, check your board for NVMe booting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2,200 megabytes per second on the reads and 900 megabytes per second on the writes. IOPS, what is that? 430,000 on the random reads and 230,000 on the random writes. That is just ridiculous. Yeah, it makes me vomit from speed. Of course, sticking with Asus, I went with a GTX Titan X. That, of course, has 12 gigabytes of memory in it, and it's a monstrous $1,000. But I was like, once again, if I'm at the $2,800 price point, I really want to. I didn't want to make any compromise whatsoever, but clearly that price point sort of F's me, so I had to make some compromise. And then I went with the Fantex Enthu Pro TX full tower case. Coming in at $100, and it's awesome because you guys can throw in lots of. It's really customizable too, right? Like I haven't had any personal experience with it, but I've read a lot of reviews on it. Do you guys like that chassis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never used it, so I don't know.
Well, I haven't used it. No, I haven't used it. I've just seen pictures of it. I actually think I might have seen one in person too. I can't quite remember, but yeah, that one's pretty slick.
I mean,
it's a good choice.
You guys can always send us one, and we can review it for you. So.
If I was still working,
an option.
Yeah, if I worked at Newegg, I would help you out. But no, my computer parts are now limited to less than what I had before. I won't say nothing because I still have some connections, but I can't just like, hey, what up, guys? I'll introduce you to some people though. Maybe we can get something to happen.
Well, I'm just saying they might be listening, or they might watch this on YouTube.
This is true.
We're always interested to review stuff, and we'll write it up, and we'll do a good job. So hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Send me a Titan, please.
I will send it to you.
Titan.
A Titan X would be awesome.
Yeah, I don't care about cases. I want a Titan. Sorry.
That's cool.
There goes that deal.
I ended up. Yeah, I'm fucking cutting off everything you say at the very last second. I just want to ask for a fucking Enthu Pro. The power supply went with the Corsair RM750, and that is fully modular. It is gold certified. And it is going for $109 at Micro Center. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty good. Good first effort. I appreciate it.
Thanks. As I come on the show more often, I'll be sure to I'll be sure to change it up. All right, tear it apart. Go ahead. Give me some negative feedback. What do you guys not like about it?
No, I think it's pretty solid.
No, I think it's good. One thing I did want to mention. One thing I did want to mention about the 750s, those NVMe drives, they are absolutely crazy. But I had seen some benchmarks about latency in comparison to standard SATA drives as well as the M.2 drives.
We're talking about like, I mean, a normal SSD is what, like tenths of a second?
It's not like you're ever going to notice it.
No, I'm curious. What is it though? I don't know.
The latency was slightly higher. I'd have to find the article, but
okay. Cool.
Whatever. Okay, that wasn't worth it.
No, it's a data point. I mean, I remember when I interviewed Intel about them. They said that there's certain tests that will come up with odd numbers.
Yeah.
If you don't take certain things into account or update it to the newest version that supports it or whatever. So I don't know. I'm sure the people who did that, but yeah.
Oh, they're quick. They're very quick.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Had to send mine back. That was not.
Did you go through Intel or through someone else to get it? Just out of curiosity.
Intel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, because you, that's right. Yeah, that's fine.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Yeah.
The first rule of Intel Club is you don't talk about Intel Club.
Damn, I was going to go with like Bugwise and Gremlins. Don't feed it after midnight and something.
Yeah.
You went that. Your joke was better.
The one thing I love about this guest build, the motherboard is almost as much as our first build that we had on this tonight.
And that's how you know you're getting a $2,800 build. F your entire $500 build. That's how much my mother.
And then the video card itself is more than the entire $800.
Yeah. So there's a wide range of options here, depending on what you want to build. So.
All right, so let's jump into chat questions. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Wait, there's one image about this build.
Hold on.
I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah.
There you go. Bonus points to anybody who can name the gentleman's shoulders I'm standing on in chat. Bonus points, and then we can start off with chat.
We're gonna wait here until someone names him.
They're gonna be like, oh,
this is gonna be on the VOD for an hour.
I should have practiced DJing on his head as the post. That would have been a little funnier.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know how far back I have to look. Let's see. All right, Thunderclates asks, "Dear KB Bros, in under 30 days, the EVGA step up expiration closes on my 970. Is there a good reason why I shouldn't step up to a 980 Ti? My current monitor is 1440p, and I expect to use my card for the next 3 to 5 years."
No.
Probably, I don't have a good reason unless you're, destitute, living in a cardboard box.
Yeah,
cuddling your computer,
not going above 1080p, then yeah, there's your reason. But at 1440, go to the 980, especially if you've got the step-up program in your favor.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about the step-up program. Am I eligible for that with my 980? Because I kind of want a new card for no logical reason.
Bro,
you should check. All right,
well, there goes that money.
Sammy PC asks, "What is the best GPU you would put with a G3258?"
Bob, you've worked with that CPU.
I'm gonna wait. I was gonna wait for you guys to chime in before I.
Whatever Bob says.
Steve, have you played with that particular chip yet?
I haven't. Paul got the only chip we had when I was at Newegg, and he got a bunk chip that he couldn't really overclock. How far did you get yours?
4.5.
Nice. Okay.
Scumbag Paul.
Love Paul.
At that point, probably the 960, right? Like, what do you think, Bob?
Well, okay, so it actually is 100% dependent on the type of games that you play.
That's fair.
Yeah, so you played around with a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge cop-out, Bob.
No, for example, okay, Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of Mordor is a recent title. Yeah. You can crank that thing all the way up to like 4K dynamic super resolution, and you can be running it with a 970 and getting all the frames that I'd get on my 5930K here. No problem at all, just because it's not using more than 2 threads, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if you switch over to a GTA 5, it's practically like GTA 5 Slideshow Edition, regardless of what you're running. So it's 100% dependent on the type of games that you play and whether they're using multi-threaded or not. So
right, I was going to say any of the Ubisoft titles that came out too.
So that's
quad-core minimum.
So that's like the technical perspective of that argument. On the other hand, like pairing a $300 video card with a $49 chip from Micro Center is kind of asinine, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I hate, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but I've got one in one of my mini ITX builds here that I just wanted to play around with. Honestly, I probably would go about as far as one of those Radeon R9s, you know, the 280s for 150 bucks, or maybe a 960, and I think that's probably even overkill for the expected life cycle, or not life cycle, but you know, expected workload for that particular chip. Right. If you're looking at G3258, you're probably going to be playing a lot of like free to play titles, MOBAs, you know, older DX10 games, maybe some DX11 stuff, but I don't think you're probably expecting to play Far Cry 4 with all the eye candy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, now that I know I can't, I'm not expecting it. So.
Well,
yeah. Sorry, John, I couldn't hear you.
Oh no! You said Far Cry 4 was the game that prompted me to buy a new GPU, even with a 3770K. Like,
yeah,
it's understandable.
Totally understandable. That's the interesting thing about game development too. How that's kind of changed over the years. Before, they weren't really programming stuff to use multiple cores at all, and I think isn't it BioShock 3? You actually have to. I think I had to change the INI file, because I have multiple cores, for the game to even prevent itself from crashing constantly when I was just trying to make it out of the core. So times change, things are always going to change, but you should still spend all the money on computer parts because it's amazing.
Yeah, do it.
That's my wise words. Spend all of the money.
Yep.
If Bob has taught me anything, it's yes. Just say yes.
Just spend it.
It's just like that show, Yes to the Dress, except we buy hardware.
It'll love you back. It'll love you back.
Yes, it never talks back unless you buy an AMD and the drivers crash.
Yeah. All right. So K9 asks, will that Enthu fit an EATX board? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Let's see. Should I crossfire my R9 280X or get a 970? I live in Canada and can get an R9 280X and higher wattage power supply for less than a 970. What do you guys think?
I would say go 970.
That's mostly out of hate for AMD, right?
It's not out of hate for AMD. I think as a single card solution at this point, you could probably get away with an AMD card if you're patient. Having used Crossfire GPUs from AMD, spend the extra X number of dollars and go to a single card that won't ever make you kill yourself. My
opinion on this one actually is do neither. I don't think that you're going to see enough of a gain out of a Crossfire R9 280X or a 970 to be worthwhile for the investment. So I would sock that money away and use it later. That's just my
upgrades.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So save like 980, go 980 at that point?
Yeah, or wait for the next generation. I think it's kind of weird to upgrade within relatively the same generation.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Zygby Rooster in chat. Buy the new card, sell your R9, offset the cost.
Well, the hard thing with it, if you can do that, then sure, absolutely. Selling hardware is pretty hard, though. I mean, if you have a buddy or something that's trying to get into PC gaming and you can sell to him or her, then sure. But don't buy something with the expectation to have that thing sold for what you think you're going to get for it, because chances are you're probably going to have to sell it short or get lucky on eBay or something. So. And
honestly, to anybody else out there that hasn't already gone through this thought process of should I buy something used versus new, I almost always recommend buying something new, unless it's like a CPU and you trust the person and you've tested it, you know it's going to work way before you decide to give money for it. That'd probably be the only time, and for the only component. I just feel like for the money that you're saving, it's not always worth it, unless you know it's like, well, even if, let's say you get something for $20 and it's like, all right, well, it was a $60 cooler, that's worth it, because ultimately you only have to spend $60 more to get a working system if that $20 investment fails you, right? Unless it fails and destroys everything, I suppose that would be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it also depends on the cooler too. If it's an air cooler, then maybe you just end up buying a new fan or something.
Exactly. No, air would be fine. I was thinking about an AIC or an all-in-one cooler.
Yeah, I don't know about those.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't buy that used. Don't buy anything used that could break and destroy the rest of everything else you bought.
If it drips, don't buy it used.
Yeah, I think we should stick with that, yeah.
So, We've got a question. Yeah, we've got a question about why the Titan X instead of the 980 Ti on the $2,800 build. We knew you were going to get grilled, Steve.
Oh, wait, sorry. What was the question again?
Why the Titan X instead of the 980 Ti on the $2,800 build?
So you're right. You should have done that. Yes. No, you're right. I was just trying to pick a bigger number. I literally was looking at the price. So you're right. I should have gone 980 Ti.
No, I think it's totally legitimate to do the Titan X.
But for the price difference, I see what he's saying, because I could have saved money there and put it in something else. I'm in agreement with that.
Well, I think where you could have saved the money more effectively would have been the motherboard. That Rampage.
I'm not fucking changing the motherboard, Bob. Drop it.
What else? What else? Okay, no. My point is, what else are you going to plug into that Rampage?
I know, but we were.
You
talking
have
about
nothing else to plug into
talking about upgrade paths before. So this for me was like it's like ultra overclockability. You have the awesome forget the name of the controller that comes with it too to monitor everything. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it was like all the bells and whistles. Just the title and the fact that it's a motherboard doesn't cover everything that comes in the box for me. You know?
I'm gonna email JJ right now.
Yeah, JJ, Bob's being an asshole. Tell him.
So is the VRAM enough of a reason to go to the Titan X over the 980 Ti?
Depends on what you're playing.
Yeah, it depends about resolution and
gaming.
Like say Steve is playing Skyrim with about 400 different mods enabled.
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
so here's the thing: is it maybe we talked about, especially with the $1,800 build being an all-around build? You're going to game on it. Maybe you're going to do VMs. Maybe you're going to do production. If you've got that kind of money to spend, go to the Titan X, and you can do 4K video rendering in Premiere with 12 gigs of VRAM with a much better system impact. Like
CUDA cores,
all the CUDA cores, all the VRAM. But is that maybe the reason you would want to go Titan X versus 980 Ti?
Sure.
I justified a 980 over a 970 because of more CUDA cores. Do I need the 980? Yes.
Yeah.
You've messaged me several times and said I shouldn't buy a second 980, right? Like I shouldn't just do that.
Yeah.
You should definitely do it.
I want to, and the fact that I can take my machine out and plug it into my computer and game in 4K.
You know what?
It looks so good.
I'm going to give you two homework for next month, actually. I'd like you to estimate how much money I've personally cost you by talking you into things that you should have bought.
I don't want to say that publicly.
I will do this as long as it stays in Slack. If I have to do it on the podcast, I'm not going to because my wife has been watching this.
Okay.
Oh, I got an interesting question for everyone here before we answer any other questions. How much did each of you spend in total during the last Steam sale? The Steam Summer Sale?
$4.
No, John, shut the fuck up.
$4.
You've been reeling back. What happened?
I just spent an exorbitant amount of money remodeling parts of my house.
Okay.
And the Steam sale decided to happen during that when I had no ceiling in my living room. And so I bought Hero Siege and the DLC for it. And to buy the DLC, I sold every trading card that I had in Steam, which was worth $6 total. And I bought one. And I bought the Here There Be Giants expansion for Don't Starve. That was it. That was all I've done. Also, I have 700 games in Steam. All of them were already on sale, and I already owned them.
God, that's awesome. All right, well, whatever. That's
I spent
I'm trying
$30. $30. Yeah.
I'm actually going to log in real quick and find out exactly what I spent because I actually don't know. I guesstimated on Master Minutes what I thought I spent, but please, Mark, what did you spend? So $4, $30? That we said, Bob?
Yeah. Yep.
What did you spend, Mark?
Not much. I think I know I spent probably less than $10. That's my guess. The problem
you guys
is,
are gonna make me look like I have a problem.
I was underwhelmed with it, and I think the games that were on sale I'd already bought at like full retail. So
the reason
wait.
The reason I spent so little money is because one, Ark is a thing, and that's all I play right now because it's just a lot of fun. And it's the only game that's like sucked me in this much since like Minecraft, where I just will log in and I will lose track of time.
Oh man, we should play Minecraft again.
Nope. False. Incorrect.
I'm going to start
a server right now.
All right, have fun with that. But I have my backlog of AAA games that I bought on previous Steam sales that I have never installed, or I installed with intent to play it and then never got around to it, is too massive to justify buying anything that's coming out now. Oh, it's 40% off of $50. okay, I'm not going to play it before the next sale, so I will wait until then, and if I'm still interested, I'll buy it then. That's why I spent so less. I'm an old man.
No. That's actually legitimate. That's a healthy way of shopping. So you did it right. I just completely failed. Let me try and add up some of these real quick because there are a bunch of different purchases. Can you guys fill time for a moment while I whip this out real quick?
Nikon, you got some like dance music or something? You can
Hold on.
just random stuff on the.
God, how did I spend so?
Steam DB calculator can really make people sad.
Oh God, this is perfect music. Like searching. Oh, here's a big one.
I hope they don't claim this on YouTube, otherwise Dan's gonna really hate me.
Oh well.
But whatever, it's fine.
Dan's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Almost done. Apparently there was a lot more transactions than I thought there were.
I'm trying to figure out where I can see all this old stuff.
Oh, that's a little bigger than I thought it was.
He's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Someone just checked their online banking and went Steam. Oh Lord, why?
Actually, you want to know a fun fact? My wife spent more on the Steam Summer Sale than I did.
How much did she spend?
You made her an addict, dude.
I know. I recently justified upgrading my machine from a 4770K to 4790K along with some other stuff because I'm like, oh, my wife needs a PC, so we'll build her one and then I'll just kind of slowly bump up my system. She recently, I was logged into check an old Amazon account order because I bought something and I was like, okay, where is it? I'm going to check tracking. I log in. She bought the $120 version of Fallout 4.
How much? The Pip-Boy?
Yeah, with the Pip-Boy. I'm like,
God.
What the fuck? I've created a monster.
It's like, honey, but it's something I can use right now.
Oh, man. So, yeah,
That's
she spent
awesome.
significantly more during the Steam Summer Sale than I did. And I don't even think Fallout 4 doesn't even count on that. She's just like, yeah, I think Fallout's going to be fun, and it comes with a Pip-Boy.
I did buy that, but not during the Steam Summer Sale. I bought it right after the Bethesda live stream. So I was pretty happy. As soon as they said you could create your own settlements, basically your own bases, and then people could come to them, and then you'd have to defend it. I was like, sold. I'm just gonna get everybody to come to my place, and we're gonna defend all day, and then go get things and build things. Like, awesome. Okay, so I have a grand total, and I'm kind of nervous to say it. I have to make sure my wife can't hear because she'll fucking kill me.
My wife's in the chat right now. Someone has. She's like,
remember,
I've been
you
caught.
asked this question. You asked us this question.
Yeah, but now with the numbers you guys gave, it's ridiculous. All right. Guess the first number, and I'll tell you the rest of it.
First number is a 3.
No.
I say
Mark?
it's a 5.
Are we
too high, too low. What do you got, Mark?
Are we triple digits?
Yes.
I'm gonna.
What?
Wait, what was too high and too low?
3 and 5. So
I'm gonna say. 4.
No!
Nice.
Wow, you're the worst.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Don't do it wrong, Mark. It's like you had one shot. Yeah, it's $450.
Jesus. I've been there, Steve. I know how it is.
I'm trying to think if there's $450 worth of games that I want right now. I
We
cannot.
form a support group.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And
That's a lot of money on games.
What games did you buy? Name them off. Come on.
I'll look them up right now.
Name the drugs that you bought from the man around the corner named Gaben. We need to acknowledge the problem.
Things. First, it's free. TF2 is free, and then everything after that is terrible.
TF2 is free, but if you want to trade, you got to buy at least one item.
I got the craziest knife in CS:GO, you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh look, they dropped me a crate. Oh sweet, I can get a knife. Oh, it's only $2.50. Oh, it's only $2.50. Oh, it's only.
Yeah, tap. So to go back to what you were saying before about Ark, I'll give you guys a quick insider tip. We're actually going to use that game in the next Master Minutes. So FYI.
All right.
So to be fair, I bought 2 of those. So and then I also bought Dirt. Oh, no, I got Dirt Rally for the PC Gamer thing. Let me go through my newest games. God, where is everything? I feel like these are all games I know I bought a long time ago.
Mark, since we're going to lose the VOD, do you want to go ahead and queue up Simple Plan Untitled?
No.
It's cool. We don't need to go into this.
I don't. We'll see if that catches on the VOD. That will definitely catch on the VOD.
What? What were you gonna play?
Oh, it's that Simple Plan song where it's like.
No, sing it again, Bob. Go ahead.
If you hum, it'll actually catch that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I was going to say.
No.
I'll just link it in chat. How about that?
There you
Okay.
go.
Good enough.
Yeah.
I can't find all the things I bought. I'm sorry. I literally cannot.
There's just too many of them.
I've got too many things, and I started to organize stuff right after I bought it, so I don't even... I wish there was a way... Isn't there like a way you can go in your activity or something and just see all the things you bought? Because somebody looked at my page, and they were like, what the fuck? I had bought 8 or 9 things in one run. They just screenshot it and then put it on Facebook. Pretty funny. Damn, I don't see anything. I guess everyone's activity and all the things I follow, just wipe it out. Because I don't see it right now. Any of my most recent things. Sorry, guys.
The only games I bought was Euro Truck Sim 2 because I have my race wheel, Hero Siege, and Towerfall Ascension. Which those, I don't remember how much. It's not telling me the let's see. Does it show it? So I spent $4.60, $1.50, and actually Towerfall was a different night. So I spent, what is that? $7? That's it. Technically, technically I bought Fallout New Vegas during the Steam sale, but that wasn't because of the Steam sale. That was because I was going to run a mod that required it. So
I bought that too. You reminded me. I did buy that game as one of the things I bought.
Nice. Here is the... I'll post the link in this. If you go there, it should tell you what you bought.
Oh.
And anyone else in chat who is curious, there, and you can cry.
This is awesome. How does this work?
Magic.
Oh, it's just a link. Never mind. I was all impressed. I can. You're right. I can't do that. Duh.
You know what? I spent less than $30.
Did you?
I can't believe I spent the least of all of you on Steam, and I have the most games in my life.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you already own them.
It's true. That's accurate. Yeah, it was a lot of. Oh, I already have that game. I would go to the store page and be like, "Here's the 12 or 14 games on sale. 9 of them are already in your library, and the other 5 you don't give a shit about anyway." So.
The only reason I bought Euro Truck Sim is because I have an Oculus here and a racing wheel. If I didn't have one of the 2 of those, I would not have bought that.
Oh, don't talk about the Oculus or Steve's going to want it back.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. I remember that being... I know, it's at Bob's house. Actually, how's that coming, by the way?
Awesome. I was actually threatening to do that.
I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I was so excited and happy.
I was gonna do this month's hardware podcast in the Oculus, right, with virtual desktop. I was that close to doing it
with a robot.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. So what have you done so far with Oculus that's been the thing you want to do the most? Even, after doing everything, what's the most?
Never go outside.
Project Cars probably is the coolest experience that I've had. Well, I don't know. It's either that or Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous, it's overpowered having Oculus actually, because you can be tracking somebody up above your head and you're watching them. Where you can't do that. It's OP. It's so good. So good.
Mark, have you and John had a chance to go over and check it out?
Well, I have.
So Mark,
you have
a DK1, right?
I have a
DK2.
Right
So
here.
2.
Oh, okay, yeah. So everybody has a DK2. Mark has one. I went over to Bob's when I did the rebuild for the Stealth and played several of the tech demos and Project Cars and Elite Dangerous. And that experience, even with an Xbox controller, of playing Elite Dangerous and being able to pick a target, and then like snap up and look here and see, oh, okay, they're back there, and then come back and see the radar and where they're at, and just it's so overpowered to see how tracking works, and that sold me instantly. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, give me one of these in this game, and I'll never leave my house again.
Like, it's not perfect yet. You know, you get that screen door effect. I mean, you can ignore that. I've trained myself to ignore it at this point.
Yeah.
But when you're playing Project Cars, for example, like you feel like you're in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, I'm using Xbox controller. It's embarrassing. I don't have a wheel. I mean, Mark, I'm sure it's probably much more realistic for you, but
with the wheel or the flight stick for both of those games, like when we had a party over here the other day, I brought my machine out there. I knew we were going to be playing games on the TV, but I'm like, I could run this on the laptop, but I want to have this thing with all of its power, and I want to run the Oculus. I've set up the flight stick. I couldn't get Project Cars to play with the Oculus for some reason and show on the TV, because obviously people wanted to see what was happening, not just an idiot going, hey, look at this. But I loaded Elite Dangerous up in the flight stick and gave it to a buddy of mine, and he's like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but this is the coolest shit I've ever done in my life.
I've had like 3 people, one including my wife, who have been playing around with the Oculus, and like they hate games, never play games, not interested in them. You put the Oculus on their head and suddenly they're completely engrossed in it and love every second of it. Yep. It's one of the coolest gaming experiences that you'll ever try. And honestly, it's going to be worth whatever the purchase price is at launch. I'm buying one no matter what.
Yep, absolutely.
They need to come out with a 4K one, and I will buy that and buy 10 Titans if I need to run it.
Yeah. Stranded Deep doesn't have it. I thought Stranded Deep had VR enabled like interface, but I guess it doesn't. Yeah. Anyways, that's a really cool game. That's another one that I bought.
Depth? I feel like Depth would be a really good game for that as well.
That'd be really freaky. Yeah. Anything where it's like a big open area where you don't have to do a lot aside from going, grabbing something, moving somewhere. You know, that kind of stuff is really simple. But yeah, no, I was actually going to suggest that having used the Oculus myself now in Elite Dangerous more specifically, have you guys seen what Leap Motion's doing to help enable view outside? Yeah. So just like doing this, and then it switches to the infrared cameras, and you can see everything outside of the HMD, and then just doing this again and going right back into the gameplay is so awesome. Because, for instance, having like the HOTUS in front of you, right?
Yep.
And I have an X55, which is awesome. I highly recommend that for that game. But to be able to like know where it is obviously easy. You could just feel out for it. But imagine if you could just like see, because you know you need to hit a certain hot switch or whatever, you know, a top hat or whatever, to know specifically what is there. I actually marked mine so I knew what each thing did. Even if you didn't want to do all that, and that's an awesome addition using Leap Motion. You could use, it's a really inexpensive software upgrade called Voice Attack.
Oh yeah,
did you guys play
so good.
Yes. So, but you can macro anything to anything you want to say, and then other people have added voice modulate or voice packs to it so that it'll respond in the game to you as if you're talking to AI. So
that's cool.
Try that, Bob.
I will do that.
Yeah, really inexpensive, less than like $20.
Okay.
It's worth it.
Yep.
Okay, smart. Cool.
I'll throw money at it.
I cannot wait for all this stuff to finally come out, because yes, the DK2 is nice. The fact that it's going to be wireless is just going to be incredible.
So the CV1s are going to be wireless? I haven't been keeping up.
That's what they showed at the press conference.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Although I don't know what the other ones are going to come out with too. The specs are still not completely out on stuff. There's still some stuff they're kind of like, we'll tell you later. But this stuff's really cool, so just pay attention to the cool crap.
Did you guys see the release video that they actually dubbed in the audience from like the Apple WWC convention? Did you guys see that at all? Because it was dead silent. Whenever he announced it, the room was dead silent. There wasn't any applause. There wasn't any, there was nothing. It was dead silent. So somebody took like basically the applause track from other stuff and overlaid because it should have been there and it wasn't.
Whoa, wait.
Just like that. That would have been more useful. But seriously, Oculus and VR in general, it's going to be game changing, and literally.
So I had Jenny over at Tech Syndicate now. She was with Tech Syndicate in Computex and got to try out their handheld controllers, right? On top of that, on the CV1s. And she said you can still see the screen door effect. So apparently the res isn't high enough to lose that. If there's even a change. Was there a change from the res from the DK2s to the CV1s?
I thought it was supposed to be 1440p, but maybe not.
No, I think there is a res change. I think it's I think it's a little wider. I think it's the same vertical resolution, but I think it's a little bit wider, not by much though.
Okay.
And then I think instead of 16 by 9, I think it's like 16 by 10. Don't quote me on that. I'm completely pulling that out of my ass, but if I had to guess, it's something like that.
That would make sense. Yeah, I have no idea where I was going with that now. Oh, she was just talking about the controllers, the hand controllers. Because that's the one thing that I want to be able to do with Valve and HTC's Vive. I haven't had a chance to play with that, but I was talking to the captain of Team Liquid, and he was telling me, because they're sponsored by HTC, what it was like to play with that day one. And before anybody else even had heard about it, right? I'm sure that was that was day zero, negative something, right? But he was explaining to me that it was still really nice. It wasn't like a really crisp experience, he said. And he also said they had some other ideas other than using for gaming. Like, here's a really, really good one. And this is already out, so I don't mind saying it now. But to use VR to experience a concert somewhere, right? Like, imagine a sold-out concert, and you just have one setup with cameras in every direction, right? And all you do is you sell that seat 100 million times, and everybody just has one of these HMDs on their head, and they're there. They're looking around. This is like them, you know? There's a chick over here, like, screaming in your face. It's just like everything right there, right? I'm sure they pay people to just stand next to it and give you the experience, but I can imagine that, you know? That's a really cool thing.
Telepresence with VR is going to be really cool.
Yeah, telepresence. Thank you. That's really what it is.
Well, and GoPro's doing stuff like that too, and YouTube has the 360 video, and it's all just going to stack on each other, and it's going to get better and better and better, and it's a great time to be alive. I'm just going to say that.
So, yeah, I mean, outside of even gaming, like when you're talking about education, for example, being able to do virtual field trips for students, that's going to be amazing. You know, let people experience something they couldn't possibly see. I will tell you, if you guys are interested in VR and gaming in VR, in my personal experience, it's been much more. It's been much easier to play something where my avatar, so to speak, is seated in a cockpit of some type. You know, otherwise I have been prone to some nausea. So that's something to take away if you guys are going to look into it. Is that your experience too?
The 3 games that I've played, the main ones were Project Cars and Elite Dangerous. Both of those you're sitting down, and both of those are amazing, especially Elite Dangerous. Things that weren't even that interesting before, they were still fun, like circling the sun or whatever to get more fuel. It's so much better when you're doing it and you can just look up and see how close you are to the sun versus kind of guessing or having hit a button to like move your head. I did play Alien Isolation, and I think that was actually incredible, just because things that you don't give a shit about at all before. You're running down a level, you've never looked at the side of things, you've never looked at like little details that are hanging around. As soon as you throw on a DK2 or an Oculus, whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden I'm like leaning in and looking at stuff and moving my head around, just because it's completely in 3D and it's there. But the
what if the game was designed to like actually that gave you an advantage? That would sell way more VR headsets. Like if you could
Counter-Strike and you're like peeking corners.
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, I could never play an FPS where I had to be competitive with it. I get way too nauseous.
Yeah.
But Mark,
the one thing that basically on that point that I think they're gonna have to figure out is whenever you're playing, well, at least in Alien Isolation, and obviously it's still kind of, they're figuring this stuff out because there's not even consumer versions out yet, really.
Right.
If I look off to the side and I'm holding down W to move forward, and then I let go and I'm still looking over there, if I hit W again, instead of still going the same direction I was going, all of a sudden I'm going this way, but now I'm looking off to the side. So they need to figure out a way for like first-person shooters or just first-person whatever, where you're not completely seated and it's always you're looking in one direction, you can kind of reset yourself. It's kind of weird there. It's
easier
it's
reset than F12 too.
Yeah, because that made me nauseous really, really bad when you do that, and all of a sudden you hit that, and your brain wants you to go one way, and all of a sudden you're kind of getting snapped somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. Did you try the Paris apartment demo? So I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen that UE4 Paris apartment demo. You can use that with Oculus. I did it. I let John demo that one too.
That was fun. I like that one a lot. But yeah, anytime you were looking like this way and moving that way, it was very disconcerting. Like it was incredibly nauseating.
Yeah. So that's definitely something to overcome.
So I was at the PC gaming show that AMD and PC Gamer and a bunch of others kind of did, right, for E3. I was the last question that they allowed to ask a question basically from the audience, and my question was surrounding this because I get VR sickness all the time. I get motion sick without a headset in like the passenger side of a car without reading, just like staring off into space. Like I get nauseous, right? And I've got to like eat well and sleep well before going on a trip, and otherwise I get really motion sick. And then forget about it if I'm on like a boat, if I'm on anything like that, like a cruise ship even with big stabilizers. I get really nauseous on cruises. I can take Dramamine, and that's what I was telling them. I can take Meclizine, I can take those things to help stabilize or to allow me to deal with that nausea, that motion sickness. But they immediately said, yeah, we don't want people having to take drugs to use it. And I think they were sort of defending. I think they were sort of defending the idea of what it is, because it's not even out yet. You don't want to like destroy sales before anything happens, and they're invested in it, right? But I asked them if they had any like research that helped people like me, and it didn't seem like they really had an answer. They said they've been working on it. They realized, just like you said, John, they found a correlation between the body thinking it's moving forward but looking to the left or the right. Like that messes it up really bad, and that's a really easy way to do it for anybody, even for those who don't get sick. But what I optioned, do you have something to say, Bob? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, 2 months ago we had Shannon from Thermal Take on, and he had mentioned to us, I don't remember if it was actually on the cast before or after, we were talking about VR in general, and he had mentioned that he thinks the reason, or at least it had been explained to him by somebody else, that was that you couldn't see your nose.
Yes, that's what they said on the show. That's probably some part of it to allow your head to kind of like zero itself, because what I think you're doing when there's something like this there, you like look at it for a moment and you notice it, and then you just kind of, it becomes part of you and you kind of accept where you are. Like I've made myself get sick playing on different 120 plus hertz refresh rate monitors by like trying to analyze why someone else just got sick at my system. And I'm thinking about that, trying to envision everything that they're seeing and what I'm looking at. And for some reason that had me getting nauseous, and it wasn't a conscious decision. Something I had changed, something that I'd accepted while I played changed when I was trying to get outside myself and find out what made that other person sick. Because I must drop into an automatic reaction. I can spin shit around. People can't see what's going on, but I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm aiming, where I'm jumping. I'm definitely slower than I used to be, but as an example, right? I think VR is like that. Like I'm not used to what I need to do and how I need to assimilate into it. I did notice that if I move really slowly, like physically turn my body while I'm looking instead of turn my head, that helped a lot. But ultimately, and I mentioned this after the show because I couldn't put this in there. I think if they were to add like a shutting on, a turning off and turning on, like shutters effect of the LCD, that would fix it, because that's what NASA used to help astronauts. Because apparently when astronauts return to Earth, they get vertigo pretty much 24/7. I don't know how long it takes for them to reacclimate to gravity, but that happens every time for every astronaut across the board. So what they had to do is give them like these shutters, and the shutters are basically just like active, like 3D shutters, and they open and close really, really quickly, and that helps them to acclimate. And they said that they were originally testing it with people who are driving and reading at the same time, not driving, sorry, passengers in a moving vehicle and reading. So they had a blacked out van, and they had people sitting in the van with these shutters on reading a book. And they said that the people who were reading were fine. They could just keep reading without any issue. But obviously, imagine if you were in the middle of a game and a split-second decision had to be made, and it went black on your right eye because you didn't see a bullet coming in or a projectile coming in. It would make you not sick, but you couldn't be, competitive. is what I'm getting
and
at.
then it comes into refresh rates and all that stuff. If it's if it's 120 hertz and so we're viewing in 60 hertz, then that probably would be okay. But you also need to have a high enough refresh rate too, so you don't get. Yeah, it's complicated. So the tech has to kind of catch up, maybe, possibly, because I honestly don't think the resolution is there yet. I think someone I was reading, because I've been reading in a lot on this. They say before we're not going to notice the resolution and seeing the pixels and this and that is around 8K. And to run an 8K game right now, especially on high, to where you're getting all that texture. Well, first of all, the texture quality is not even there yet because we're running like 4K textures. So if you want to do 8K, that means you really need maybe 16K textures or something. So it might be a while, but it's still pretty freaking awesome. So if you don't have one, find someone that does and at least try it. Or if you're at PAX, wait in the line to try it.
Absolutely. If you get the opportunity to try it, just do it. You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
So to go back to what Steve said, that with that shutter that you had mentioned, isn't that part of the DK2 with their low persistence model, where between each refresh of the screen they're blacking out that pixel or they're pausing it for a moment? Is that similar to what you're suggesting, or is it different?
That's basically, they're solving a different problem doing that. That's not to help with nausea. That's to help to.
That's the motion blur and kind of that kind of thing. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But good catch though, because that does sound exactly like what I think they need to do, except that how boring of a game would it be if someone was just doing this in front of your eyes? That gets so annoying so quick.
All right, we can talk about this stuff probably forever.
We should actually do a VR podcast at some point. Just dedicate a whole hour to it. But I've got at least one question. I've got one question to round it out, unless you guys have one that you want to.
I have one as well, and I want
to. Okay, go ahead.
I think it's a really good question, considering that we've gone super far into the future. At this point, Salmo D asked, what processor went into each of your first builds?
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Is it the same one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
right, we can do them both. We can do them both.
I know my first computer that we had in the house was a Gateway that my parents bought, and I think it had, I don't even remember because it was a Gateway that was pre-built. I know my first machine that I built was an AMD processor, and it was the best bang for your buck that you could get, and that was around 2001, maybe 2000. So I don't even know what it was back then, but I think I spent like $100 on it, so it probably wasn't much because I had no money for this computer. I scraped by with as little as I could get, but I ran Counter-Strike, and that's all I cared about.
What about you, Bob?
So, first personal build or first PC? I don't know.
I'm gonna go with
the one you built.
The first I built, I can tell you that. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
My first build was a P4 Northwood, 2.2 gigahertz.
Actually, I wonder if
that was my first one. It had hyperthreading. It was the best. First PC I ever had that was mine only was a P3 666 megahertz E-machine.
Wait, go backwards. Was that a slot 1?
No, that was after slot 1.
Okay, all right. Because I'm like right around that era for my first, but continue, John. I was gonna celebrate with you for a moment.
So I had my dad bought me a P3 666 was my first computer that was like, if you break this, you have to figure out how to fix it, and that kind of set me down this path as IT nerd. And then we added extra RAM and a CD writer to it. That was the big upgrade. And then once that system was too old, I had a VPR Matrix machine from Best Buy, which was their like in-home build that I took everything apart and rebuilt into a different system. And it had like a GeForce 2 GPU and a Sound Blaster live sound card.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the big thing. That was like, oh, you needed 16 megs of VRAM to run Warcraft 3, and that was the big upgrade. So that was my first couple into PC gaming.
Wow.
I'm going to try to see if I can log into Newegg under my old account.
So, my very first PC that I used, well, actually, I'll skip the IBM. So we had like an IBM 5150 from like 1980 that was 2 years before I was even born. Okay, but so we had that. But the first PC that I remember using was a compact 486 SX, 33 megahertz, 4 megs of RAM, and I want to say like it's a 200 meg hard drive. It couldn't have been much bigger than that.
All the space you'll ever need forever.
Yeah, everything. Done.
So that was purchased when my sister went to college. So I think I was like I don't know, 11 or 12 maybe. And then my first actual build was a Celeron 300 that I ran at 450. And then I shortly rolled that into you remember the 8-bit BP6 boards that were...
Yeah, 8-bit. Wow. That's back. Wow.
That was the dual socket board, though, so I had 2 Celeron 300s at 450.
Super Micro were the better dual sockets back in the day. Remember those?
Yeah. Yeah, but I had...
Sorry, no offense. Like, I'm not trying to put down your build from back in the day. I could never afford
it. It's all right, Steve. How do we end this call?
All right, so the oldest order I have on Newegg was an AMD Athlon 64 3400.
All right.
Single core, 2.4 gigahertz. And
Thoroughbred, right?
Let's see. Do they have the link for it still? Here, I'll put.
I think it is a T-Bird.
Thoroughbred. There's the Newegg link. For some reason, it's still on there.
I can't believe that's still active.
I'm trying to see here. For some reason, I still have some of these. I bought 10 mass cool 80mm case cooling fans. I think it was cheaper to buy, or it was like the same price to buy 10 as it was to buy like 2 or something. I still have like 6 of those I never put in anything. I think I need to throw those away.
Actually, the gentleman who asked us that question is actually a friend of mine and guys from our hometown. He bought a T-Bird 1 gigahertz, I want to say, and at the time it was insanely fast. It was the fastest CPU any of our friends had ever seen.
That's also back when AMD was on top, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. I remember we built that machine in my basement, set it up, and we were all just astonished at how fast it was in comparison to everything else. I think I was running I had a Celeron 633 at 950 at that point.
Yeah, Intel was still pushing that megahertz was king, and if you had the higher megahertz processor, then that meant it was a faster one. And this is when AMD was switching over to cores, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they adding cores at this point? Yeah. But I actually my first system that I was playing on that my mom built for us was I think it was a 686, like a Cyrix processor, if I'm not mistaken. But I had systems before that my mom had. I went over and played on my friends like Amiga 64 and some other systems. But the first system I ever built actually was an Athlon XP based system. And I was all freaking excited about it. And this is before they actually had the shields. You could actually see the CPU cores. So look up Athlon XP.
Did you go to a Barton doing the XP 3200 Barton?
I can't remember any of the model names or the what are they called, the names, the actual internal names at all from that point. So I just remember putting it together myself and being told, do not let the cooler crack those cores because they're completely exposed.
Yep.
So
yeah. I had the P4 Northwood, which had the shield at that point, and all of my friends had the XP 3200 Barton. And the Barton smoked the P4 Northwood at that point. It was such a better CPU. And honestly, Mark's build on the Venice core, he had the 3400. My next build after that Barton was the AMD 64 3700 plus, and it was a game changer. Like full on 64-bit processing. I used to run 64-bit Windows XP, which was a nightmare.
Oh yeah, yeah. I want more memory. I don't have more memory yet, but I want the ability to do more memory.
Yeah, I didn't have 4 gigs of RAM at all.
Do you guys remember those Evergreen 586 CPU upgrade chips?
Evergreen.
No.
Yeah, this just took me down a really weird rabbit hole. I never got one, but it was a processor upgrade kit. Basically, you'd.
That Sapphire 9600 Pro card you just linked in the Skype, Mark. I bought the 9600 XT, and that's how I got Half-Life 2, because you got a copy of the game with 9600 XT.
556 megabytes of DDR2. AGP.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
And then
do you remember?
And then I upgraded the next year to a Radeon X1650 that had 512 megabytes of memory.
Oh man.
Man, that was twice the amount.
I remember upgrading my video card to like a DirectX 9 versus a DirectX 8 compatible card, and then watching like TFC. I used to play Team Fortress Classic. And if those who don't know, it's a modification. It's one of the first like 4 of the Team Fortress games, right? Because they used to mod Quake 2 all the time, and Quake 2 used or Half-Life 1 used the same engine, didn't it? I can't recall now if it used Source or not at that point.
Anyways, Team Fortress, for Classic, no, I think it used the Half-Life 1.
Okay, so either way, Team Fortress had like in the level called Well, there was green water, right? And then when you went to DirectX 9, the water had waves. I'm like, whoa! I'm like running over it, and I stopped, backed up, looked over, like, the water has waves! Like, that was blowing me away.
Yeah.
I love the reviews on this GPU that Mark just linked. I replaced a 32 megabyte ATI All-in-Wonder video card that was years old and far out of date. The difference is...
Oh, man. The All-in-Wonders. All-in-Wonders are so good.
We really should wrap up, though. We could sit here and reminisce about old games and old cards.
All right, so we need to have Steve back for a VR podcast and an old
and a retro hardware podcast. I would totally do a retro hardware podcast with all of you. That would be hilariously fun.
Cool. Very cool.
We are nerds. That's fine.
We are nerd. Video games did it to me. Yeah. I blame them first.
Hey, video games are getting me my job that I'm about to get, so I don't care. And they've gotten me jobs in the past. Yep. So.
They've gotten me girls. No, just kidding.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming out to this month's live build guide and hardware podcast. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. It's been a blast, you guys. I've been wanting to come on a KBMOD streaming for a while, but I know that like my schedule hasn't really worked out, and I never really like reached out to anybody but Bob. He's like, yeah, Bob, I'll do it sometime. Like there was never any, all right, guys, I'm open this time at this day. So it worked out today, and
we'll have you around more.
Yeah.
So actually, real quick, do you want to plug Master in Minutes, what you do?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I do a porn video every Wednesday called Master in Minutes. I masturbate on camera. It's great. So far, I've got a really strong male audience for some reason, but everybody really likes it. I just killed Bob. Bob is gone. John is recovering. And I can't even see Mark. he's just an OBS speaker.
Bob is... Yeah, there we go. We'll just get rid of his...
Bob shat himself just now. His stomach was upset. Anyways, no. So Master of Minutes is a show that I co-host along with DefebWar, a.k.a. Deb. You can catch her on her Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/DefebWar. And mine is twitch.tv/BarrelGrounds. And you can check out the show at bit.ly/Master in Minutes, capital M, capital I, capital M. Bottom line, we look at whatever game we start with. Her and I pick a game. We've never played it before. We spend a very short amount of time playing that game, usually around 15 minutes, depending on the genre game. And then we take turns teaching the other person how to play that game. So it's super fast absorption, super fast teaching it, and at the end of the day, you, the viewers, vote who wins. And honestly, it's a lot like what is that game show where the points don't matter?
Whose line is it anyway?
Yeah, whose line is it anyway? So basically, it doesn't really matter how good or bad we do. Ultimately, DefebWar wins almost every week. So it doesn't matter, which is fine because it's actually really funny. But we've done a tremendous amount of games. We're on this Wednesday. We'll be at 7 p.m. We'll be showing it, which is at Pacific time or 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing that at what's the next game? Oh, I'll give you guys a spoiler. I'll tell you exactly what games we're gonna play.
KBMOD exclusive right here.
KBMOD exclusive. Hashtag. Put it up. Where the fuck are the games? Like I had not selected them yet. Apparently. Aha. Here we go. It's gonna be Ark, Survival Evolved.
Love that
game. That Deb picked that game, and then I picked Stranded Deep. So both of those games I've heard are really good, and either way, we're going to try to learn as much as we can in the shortest amount of time and then teach other person. So hopefully you guys can come and watch us. We typically don't learn everything about every game, so we just go into it fucking balls out, no idea what's going on, which is always kind of funny because I'm like, Deb, because we mute each other while we're playing our games for the first 15 minutes. I'm like, Deb, it's been like 10 minutes. I can't get it to run. That's happened before. Like, I can't even tell you about your game. You're kind of fucked. Let me just like look up a couple of the games we played in the past. I think the most popular one was let me put this up in the chat real quick. The most popular games were the scary ones because there's just ridiculousness that happened during that. Yeah, but we played a bunch of different games. I'm not going to go into it now because I realized we're trying to close the show. Sorry, guys. I got a little too excited there.
No, it's all right.
No,
Let me tell you guys about something.
Those 2 games you're about to play both of them should be a lot of fun.
Cool.
So I think that should be something everyone here should go watch.
Please do. That'd be awesome.
So make sure to follow Steve on Twitter, and you can follow the other guys too if you feel like it. But
alrighty, well,
make sure you follow the channel as well.
Yep, and if you like what you guys see and you want to help support KBMOD and allow us to continue to do shows like this and various other things, feel free to consider subscribing. It does help out a lot. But that's going to wrap it up for this month's KBMOD build guide. Went a little longer than I expected, but you know what? That was a lot of fun. Thanks again, Steve, for coming out. Thanks again, always,
Thanks,
Bob and John. And yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good night. Drive safe.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sun where no one can see you stand.